Good generic time of the day, everybody. I took that one from Rob Walsh at Libsyn. Welcome to a special live stream for the Podcast Editor Academy and the podcast editing community at large. I'm Steve Stewart, the founder of the Podcast Editors Club on Facebook and co-founder of the Podcast Editor Academy, where we teach people how to create businesses as podcast post-production specialists. Today, I'm going to go through some information that I compiled from my community on rates for editing video podcast episodes. The results were kind of all over the place, and it's interesting to see what's in there. So I'm going to try and make sense of things for you. There is a lot of data here, and there are some things that there's no explaining it. There just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to give you what I can, and then share with you, what people use, what they do when they edit these videos, and what they charge. And I'll give you some estimates on those as well. So hopefully this helps you or encourages you when you're looking at becoming a podcast editor, or you already are. What can I do to make more money or to start making money as a podcast editor when video is it's so needed in this space nowadays? All right, so let me go ahead and you're going to take a drink here because I'm going to share my screen. So you got to take a drink when I say share my screen, right? And I'm going to try and share it. It's been a while. This is, by the way, I'm using somebody else's StreamYard account right now. I'll talk more about them in a bit, but we are going to, yes, we're going to bypass that. Here we go. We should be seeing my screen now. Nope, that's the wrong screen. This is typical, isn't it, of everybody who is using any kind of streaming software to come up with the wrong thing. Come on, I had it, and it's doing it again. Why is it doing it again? There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, so Podcast Editor Academy is sponsoring this survey. We have the doors closed to accepting new members right now, but we will be opening the doors again in February of 2026. So when we do that, we will let you know. So make sure you stay tuned to what we're doing in the Podcast Editor Academy, which you can find at podcasteditoracademy.com. All right. What do podcast editors charge for editing video episodes? This is what everybody wants to know. Well, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get right to the number. I've broken it down to give you an idea of what people are charging in ranges, anywhere from $1 to $99, from $100 to $199. And this is video only. This is not including anything but 30 minutes of raw video recording. We're not talking about, if we do any kind of audio podcast episodes, let's just say it's video first. This is a video edit for a video episode, and it's separate from anything else. That's the range or the scope of the respondents that we got. Now, we didn't get a ton of respondents. We had less than 50. So again, you're going to have to take this with a grain of salt, but this is what we found, that the average is 188.47 USD, United States. That's the average of the respondents that we got. Video editing software, we see still that Adobe Premiere is the big daddy of them all, with DaVinci Resolve a solid second place, and a script 12%. And then Riverside has editing tools within their software, so that does now technically become a video editor. And that's been gaining ground, which makes sense to me. If it's being recorded in Riverside, why not also edit it in Riverside, or at least use some of the tools there to create that ultimate product that goes out into the world. Here's the breakdown. I've got a couple different ways of looking at this. Right now we're looking at how many people or how many respondents charge between these ranges. And then I also broke down the colors of each one, showing how many of those people, look at that second bar, the tallest one, how many people are charging between $100 and $199 and are using Adobe Premiere. And that's the blue part of that. You'll see a lot more people using Adobe Premiere in the $200 to $299 range. But DaVinci has a presence in all of them, which I think is very interesting. Very interesting there. CapCut, notice CapCut, the yellow one, in the 0 to 99, or the $1 to 99 range, and the 100 to 199 range. But nobody charging more than that when using CapCut. So I find that interesting. Software by rate, this is the alternate view of it. So if we look at each bar, there is representative of the platform that's being used. So Adobe Adobe Premiere is the first one listed. More people use that, and you can see where they're charging in between that. So Adobe strong presence in almost all the price ranges except 300 to 449. But when you get to something like Descript, people there are charging either between 100 and 189 or 300 to 449 to edit that 30 minutes of video. So very interesting. And then Riverside, if you see people who use Riverside, which most of the time they're using those AI generating tools or those AI editing tools inside of Riverside, they're only charging between $100 and $199. So again, it's a smaller sample size, but I find that interesting and something that you might want to consider. And that's going to become more important later on in this presentation. Tasks that are completed. So if people are editing these videos with their software, what are the tasks that they're completing? Audio engineering has a strong 75%. Adding B-rolls and visuals, half of the respondents said, 56 said they use B-rolls and adding visuals, which could also just incorporate lower thirds and things like that, which I think is very important for video. Camera switching, 91%, by far the most important thing. Keep the dynamics going when it's usually just two talking heads. We want to make these videos better. Camera switching, I think is really important. Color, brightness, enhancement, that takes skill sometimes. And I was actually kind of surprised that 59% people said that color enhancement, brightness control is something that they do on a regular basis when they're manually adjusting these video recordings. Lower thirds, 72%. So you know what? That needed to be broken out. That's not part of the added B-rolls and visuals part. That is a separate thing. So yeah, lower thirds, I think that's a go. That's just that's a feature that everybody needs to be doing to increase some of the visual enhancements to a video. Nobody wants to watch just two talking heads. They want to watch things that have dynamics, and the lower thirds is a big piece of that. That's easy to put in there, usually very easy. And then manually finding shorts and clips. So if they're searching for those really juicy moments that might become a short that they post elsewhere, social media, YouTube, things like that, half of the people said they choose those manually. All right, let's go to the tasks completed when they're using AI tools. Now, the confusing part that I had in the survey was I didn't clarify that between the two questions, between that previous slide and this slide, that we're talking about the things that you do manually and the things you use AI for. So there's some people who will have said in the manual one that they do audio engineering, but they also might use AI to do that. And that was my fault, but we can still get, I think, some good information here. Using AI to enhance audio is a big thing. In fact, what you might be interested in learning is we had a recording just earlier today that's going to be going out in January of the Podcast Editor Mastermind Show that we talked a bit about, what has changed in 2025. And the big thing, of course, is AI and audio enhancements and how that works. And we talk more about it from the post-production side. Is that something that we wanted to, or is that something that we're seeing impact our income? Is audio engineering, or is it devaluing the audio engineers? So stay tuned for that, the Podcast Editor Mastermind Show. AI B-roll, 13%. AI camera switching, I think that's a no-brainer. Even though I do camera switching with AI, I go in and adjust them manually after that. It at least gets those markers in place for me. I find that very helpful. AI using the contact, correcting the eye contact. I've seen only 3% say that they use that. AI filler word removal. So this is a big debate. Do you use AI to do that? 28% said they do. And I'll skip the other ones. We'll just jump right to AI video shorts. So these are people who are using AI to generate or to find what the video shorts are. And 50% said they use AI to do that. And I think AI is a good start for finding video shorts. Very helpful, I think, to know this stuff. Is it wrong to use AI? No, I think it's good to use AI in helping you along the way. But of course, you need to put your hands on everything. And that's my opinion. But I believe that AI is a very helpful tool. It might be some shortcuts, but then if it's helping you get to the end result that you create at the end, I think it's a good thing. All right, next slide, rates by task. And I've got two ways of looking at this. No, actually, this is just one slide, excuse me. So the color codes in each bar is the rates. So you'll see the yellow at the bottom represents $1 through $99. Blue is the second bar. It's $100 to $199. That's what they're charging for the entire task. This is, a flat rate, we'll say. whether they charge, if the editor charges in a different way, then I don't know that from the survey. I was just saying you get 30 minutes of video. What do you charge? And that's what they gave me. We've got audio engineering, good chunk of people using that and charging all over the place for that. B-roll. So adding B-roll, if they're using that, then this is, giving you a breakdown of what they're charging. So you can get a sense for, what people are charging to do some of these tasks. And that is just showing the manual ones. If we go and do the next slide, make sure I've got this next slide here. Oh, I don't have the next slide. So the breakdown here gives you a general idea. Manually finding shorts. People are charging between $199 for the entire project and including that in their price to manually find them. And that is, in the question, it did say manually find them. So it is not somebody's using AI to find those shorts. They are using, their brains, their transcripts, however they find it, and manually finding the shorts that they're going to cut out either for themselves or their clients. And then the second grade for that is, between $100 and I can't even speak today, $100 through $199. Again, for 30 minutes of recorded video that's going to be produced into an episode, they're charging between that, and they're manually finding shorts. And then between $200 to $299, people are manually finding shorts, but nobody in the higher range is manually finding video shorts for their clients. That either means that they're not doing it at all, or they might be using AI to do that. So interesting information there. All right, quick break. I want to thank Sam Bachadri. I can't pronounce his name right. He is a creator of some really cool tools. He used to work for StreamYard, and he was allowing me to use his StreamYard account today, so I want to give him a quick thanks. He's created some pretty cool tools. Katana Video is a great way to have an AI editor to do some work on Zoom video calls. And you know how those are just horrible because they're side by side. They can't be separate unless you do some really fancy stuff. You might want to go check that one out. Also, this free.upscaler.video. That's something new that he has developed that upscales the video, meaning the quality looks better. So if things are recorded in 720p, this free tool, upscales it for you. He does have a pro version, so you might want to check that out and see if that's something that you can use to speed up your workflow. And then free.cropzoom.video is also an interesting tool. That'll take the Zoom videos and crop them for you. It's a very interesting tool. So thanks to Sam for allowing me to use the StreamYard account. And I wanted to share some of those really cool tools. Those are really easy to use too. You'll see. Of course, you got to wait for some things, uploads, downloads, things like that, but go check them out. All right, next screen, time to complete. Let's talk about what it takes for people to complete editing the full production of this 30-minute video recording, which I didn't say it was 2 15-minute recordings in one, or maybe they sent you 25 minutes of an interview and 5 minutes of an intro outro. It's 30 minutes total is what I asked it, and had them report what they charge for. Time to complete, 38% said 1 to 1.5 hours. 22% 2 to 2.5 hours. 3 to 3.5 hours is 28%, so about a fourth of them. And then there were a few people who produced video, those 30 minutes of video, for more than 4 hours. I tried to extrapolate some information from who uses AI tools and how much time does it take for them to complete the task. You think it would be faster? So that's what we're going to go into in a second here, is does the AI help? Are they able to charge more or not? It gets to be confusing there. But if we look at the time to complete the task versus what they charge, you can see on the scatter plot that people who charge less primarily take less time to produce. There are some people who are taking 1.5 hours and they're charging around $250 per episode, a 30-minute video. That's pretty interesting. Some of them take more time, but then you don't want to be up here, because if you're spending 3 hours and making $100, that's concerning, unless maybe you live in a low-cost area, and the U.S. dollar is a lot different there then, of course. There is one person who spent 7 hours, but they're charging $550. So that's a decent wage. But if you're in here, actually, if you're over here, 3 hours to earn $350, 3 hours to earn $450. That's a pretty sweet spot. And I'll bet you're producing a really good video. One thing we don't want to encourage here is garbage video. If you're just letting AI tools edit everything and you don't tweak it, you don't put your hands on it somehow, I don't like that. I worry about that. I fear that. But if it creates a good video, that's fantastic. But I think AI tools definitely can help get that done in a shorter amount of time. All right, manual editing tasks. So these are the tasks that were in the survey asked, hey, these are tasks that we do manually. Are you doing these things? And it's saying the quantity of people that use those tools and how much they're charging. So you can see the ones who are using, a few of the tools, the manually editing tools in their Adobe Premiere or the DaVinci Resolve or whatever, they're charging, here's 100, 125, 150, 200, 250. Ones who use more, or do more of the ones who do more of the manual tasks up here, they're only charging, $100, $150, $250. The ones who are using a bunch of the tasks are up here. And again, somebody's only charging $100, somebody's charging 150, somebody's charging 200. That's the average that I'm seeing here. And one person's using all of the options that I posted. And there are, of course, other editing tools and things you can do when you're doing video. But this is you're engineering the audio and you're putting the lower thirds, you're adding B-roll and those types of, and manually finding video shorts. So the people, there are people who are charging $250 for that. These are the ones using more of the tools, and the ones at the bottom are using less of the tools or tasks, I should say. Now, what if they're using AI? Because that's the big thing here. Well, we've got a lot of people who only use a few of the AI tools, and they're all over the board when they're charging their rates. And I found this interesting that the ones using AI tools are charging less here. Not to say that, taking those, and I'm going to call it using AI as a shortcut, that you should be able to complete the task sooner. They definitely aren't spending more of the time than cultivating the story or doing things like that. And there was no question in the survey that indicated that I was looking for that type of a person. Like, hey, do you just make the video pretty, or are you crafting a narrative and using all the different B-roll and trying to do the NPR type of stuff? I didn't ask those type of questions. So this information is just to give you that general idea of where people are on average. And then let me give you one more chart, because this is going to make it more sense, to you. This one actually compares the two. So you'll see the white dots. Those are the people who are manually doing the video editing. And then the people who are using more of the AI tools are in yellow. And you'll see a lot more manual stuff being done in this area, which this area is the lower rate area. And then the AI tools, there's a bunch of them, and that's just using a couple of the AI tools, but they're all over the place. We showed that in the previous screen. They're all over the place in where they charge. Now, AI should not be an indicator of how much you charge. That is not the point of this slide at all. The end product should be good. And whether you're doing manual work or you're doing AI generated work or a combination of both, it doesn't matter. You need to be charging what you're worth. And if we're looking at the average of $188 per episode, that's the average of all of the people who are on this survey, then, that's something to consider. Are you making enough to make it worth your while to do it? If AI is helping you get the job done faster, or getting a task done quicker so that you can then focus more on the other things, the narrative and doing all the things, or getting those video shorts produced, things like that. Those are the things where AI, I think, can help get you to that end result faster, and you can still charge more for that money. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was informational. If you'd like the slides, you can reach out to me, steve@stevestewart.me, and I'll get you the slides for this. I do want to let you know a couple things. The Podcast Editor Academy is reopening February of 2026. If you want to keep in touch, a couple ways to do that. First one is make sure you're on the newsletter, podcasteditoracademy.com/newsletter. I'll be announcing more information about the improvements, enhancements, the additions that we're making there. And while everything is going up in rate, I can promise you we're not increasing our rate this year. So that's good news, right? Finally. And then another thing I want to let you know, tomorrow, which is going to be December 10th, we're releasing an episode of the Podcast Editors Mastermind Show. This one is with Jeremy Enns. We're talking about marketing trends, podcast marketing trends, and really the ones that pertain to podcast editors. We're talking about, okay, there's these results. What does it mean? Does it really help at all? So that's coming out tomorrow. You can find that at podcasteditorsmastermind.com tomorrow, or just find it in your favorite podcast app. And then one more slide. That's it actually. Yep. So that's it. Just please check out the Podcast Editor Academy. We'll be reopening the doors in 2026. That'll be in February of 2026. And if you want the slides, come find me, steve@stevestewart.me. Send me an email or find me in the Podcast Editor Club Facebook group. It's at podcasteditors.club or just search Facebook. We're the biggest podcast editor community out there, 9,500 members strong. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I thank you for your time, and go out there and make some money, will you? Have a happy holiday season.